Welcome to the training, Secrets of the Storyteller, how to use stories to monetize your email list. Today, we're going to chat about why stories are important, the difference between facts versus stories, and why they say facts tell, stories sell. We're going to talk about 3 secrets to get your emails ready before we start storytelling. We're going to talk about optimizing your mobile device, personalizing your content, and then using some white space. And then we're going to talk about how we incorporate stories into our email lists, our email sequences, so that more people begin to really know you and what you offer. So here we go. Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm an email and funnel conversion specialist. So what I do is I help my clients build relationships with their clients so that they are not leaving money on the table. So what I do is I help them get more conversions with their emails and their sales pages. I am mom to 4 beautiful babies. We also have 2 fur babies and a cat. So technically, I guess 3 fur babies. I'm married to an amazing man, and every day we embrace the fact that my children love to say, "We're not normal." And being normal is vastly overrated. So we love to travel and adventure, and I love to use my business to create impact. So here are some pictures of my beautiful family. The picture up in the corner is actually my wedding photo. We got married at a Renaissance festival. More on that maybe later when we're talking about stories. The picture in the middle is us traveling to Texas to Buc-ee's, and that is 3 of my 4 children. I was actually pregnant with number 4 in that one. Same for the picture on the right. That is my 2 boys, Derek Scott Danger. Yes, Danger is his middle name. James David Robert, Dread Pirate Roberts, and Gabriella Emily Michelle. All of our kids have 4 middle names. It's a thing. I actually talk about it a lot in my own emails because most people say, "Oh, you have a kid named Danger, whatever." I'm like, "No, I really do. His middle name is Danger." Because when I was pregnant with him, my husband said, "If it's a boy, I want his middle name to be Danger so he can say, 'Danger is my middle name' when he's older to a girl." And I was like, "Yeah, well, then he gets 2 middle names, so he doesn't have to do that." Um, and we just stuck with it. So all of our kids are 2 middle names, and our most recent addition is now Lewis Asher Forrest. So it spells laugh, not phonetically, but I still like it. All right, so my mission is I am devoted. I'm going to move this so that you can read it. I'm devoted to empowering mindset, life, and business coaches to harness the compelling power of stories. My mission is to help you guys. I'm going to put this back, just to help you guys tell authentic stories, because authenticity is a word that's thrown around a lot. But if you are 100% you, people know. If you are faking it till you make it, people are going to know, and that's yucky and they don't love it. So my vision is to help you create a world where you don't have to choose between family and career. So I'm committed to supporting you in creating a harmonious balance and creating that impact through your work. Like I said, why tell stories? Because facts tell, stories sell. 89% of entrepreneurs, they use emails to generate new leads. We have to build relationships with our readers, because most of the time when I go in to help my clients, what I notice is they're not making conversions because they're asking for a sell every single time. Buy my stuff, buy my stuff. Here's this a sale, here's a discount, buy my stuff, which is okay, but and there's a typo. It's okay. And you have to take it a step further. You have to start building relationships with people. We get bombarded by, last time I looked at it, was almost 10,000 messages a day that are marketing messages through our cell phones, through our computers, through our billboards. And our brains have gotten really, really good at tuning them out. So we have to go the extra mile and actually start to really connect with our potential clients, because that's important. It's important because they need to know that they can trust you. They need to know what you offer, and they need to know how you're going to help them. All of those things you can tell them in a story. So here's the thing. Science says our brains are wired for stories, that stories are what we're looking for. Our brain is always trying to make meaning of the world around us. So if I give you these three random words, red, elephant, and light, immediately your brain is going to try to make some sort of meaning out of that. Now, if you know me, you can make some meaning. Red, because the candle is red in the picture. Elephants, because elephants are my favorite animal. And light, because there's a candle. Here's the thing, though. You can take three random words, and they could be 100% random, and your brain is still going to try to make meaning out of it, because that's what our brain does. And this was actually a article from Forbes that said stories are one of the best things that you can do because we need to make meaning. We need to understand the context between it because our brain's going to try to do it anyway. So one of the most remarkable things about the human brain is that it's always looking for patterns. Stories have a predictable pattern, a beginning, a middle, and an end that we'll talk about here in a bit. And people love stories. They love stories because A, they can forget about their own lives for a minute, or B, they can see themselves in those stories. And when they can see themselves in a story that you have shared about a transformation that you have done with a client, you have made a friend for life. They are going to want to know more. They are going to want to know more about your offers and about you and about how you help other people. So before we get into stories, let's talk about our emails for just a minute. As we start to write our emails to make these connections and to begin to monetize our email list, there are three things that I highly recommend that you do. And we're going to talk about each one just a little bit more in depth. The first thing that we want to make sure that we're doing is you want to make sure that you are optimizing for mobile. And we'll talk about a little bit more here in a minute, but as many as 78% of people view their emails from their phones. It's important because if 78% of the people that you are sending an email to are viewing it from their phone, it needs to look good or it's going to affect your statistics and your data. The second thing I would say, you want to personalize your emails, personalize your content, talk to them, not at them, to them. So one of the ways that I do this is when I write my emails for my email list, I write to a specific person. I don't say, hey, her name. I'm not like, hey, Emily. But when I write them, I pretend that she is sitting on the other side of my office and we're just having coffee together. And I basically tell her like, hey, here's what I'm thinking. And I basically write like I talk. And I always use stories. I always include pictures or GIFs because I love them and they're fun. And I always tell stories of my children, business lessons that they've taught me, things like that. And here's the thing. I will literally, when I write an email, I will be like, I will put a person's name in multiple times, or I will put the tag in for the email platform that I'm using that will tell me that will drop their name in. There's a couple reasons for this, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. And then tip number 3, we're going to use white space. You're going to borrow, it says borrow other people's audiences. Yes, you can do that. And we want to use white space. And here, we'll talk about why here in just a minute. So why do we optimize? Like we said, mobile is the most popular reading environment. People are reading books on it. People are reading emails. The 2021 State of Email by Litmus basically said 45 to 80% of people are looking at stuff on their phones. They're reading your email on their phones. It says mobile email accounts for between 26 to 78% of email opens. And depending on your target, but that also depends on your target audience, what you're trying to do with your email list, and the type of email that you're sending. And then here's the thing, and this is the kicker. 71% of people will delete the email if it looks like crap on their phone. If it doesn't look good on a mobile, they are not going to look at it on a computer. They're going to be like, bye, Felicia, and it's gone. So if you are not optimizing it, they're never going to see your story. So we have to take a minute and take the time to make sure that it looks good. That not only is our message being sent out, but the presentation of the message looks good. Like we talked about, personalizing our content, doing a little bit of market research, a little bit of personalization, according to research, goes a long ways. Research actually says that if you put their name in the subject line, they are 50% more likely to open it. If you put a call to action at the end of your email, it can lead to as much as a 202% higher conversion rate. You can actually up your conversions just by telling them, hey, Kelly, here's what I want you to do. Or, hit reply, Kelly, and tell me what's going on. Or, hey, I have this object or this product and service. I think it's for you, Kelly. Here's, and it didn't put it in here, but actually with some of the research I was doing, said that every time that you see your name, your brain is wired to reconnect and re-engage. So every time you put a person's name in an email, all of a sudden they may be drifting off and be unengaged. You see their name and they're back in the game. They're back to reading your email and actually looking for more information and trying to actually engage with the content. 91% of people say that they want to do business with a business that they relate to, and they're going to relate to you more if you're doing your market research, they're your ideal client, and you're personalizing your content to them. This is why we segment our list so that we're not asking for a concierge service for a do-it-yourselfer, because there's a disconnect there. But if you know that your person is a do-it-yourselfer, or maybe they were a do-it-yourselfer and they've now moved out of that into a more customizable service that you can offer them, it's gonna matter. And how you talk to them and the stories you share with them will matter. So let's talk readability. A little while ago, I called it white space. White space is just one piece of that. So white space, our brains are wired for readability. We're trying to scan information. Like we said earlier, there's a ton of information out there. Our brain wants to see what's important. It wants to scan for the important stuff, and all the rest of the stuff can go. So we're going to use white space. White space also gives us a chance to breathe in an email. If you have big blocks of text, it begins to feel really heavy and really lots of stuff. And then if you're using all capital letters, you feel like you're being yelled at. Don't do that. People don't like to be yelled at. But if you have a couple of sentences and it's a little bit of white space, enter, a little bit more, couple of spaces, that's good. It makes the email feel airy. It lets the email breathe. Aim for bigger copy size. I don't know about you guys, but I recently read if your target audience is over 40, it needs to be bigger than 22 pixels because we millennials are starting to go blind. So it needs to be a little bit bigger. We don't want to put a ton of pictures and stuff in there. Our email has to load quickly, especially if it's on our phone. Other things that we can do, left align the text and then test, and test. A/B split testing. What can we do to make this email better? Because the better it is, the more people that are going to be able to see the stories that we tell and engage with the content. Now, how do we use stories? We've talked about why we want to use stories, that stories are important and our brain is looking for those patterns. We've talked about what things we need to do with our emails. So now let's get into the storytelling. Storytelling 101. Let's talk about the difference between testimonials and transformations and why I prefer one or the other, but one over the other. But I also use both. And all of this is to build relationships. Building relationships, building connections with people so that we can make that sell and we can actually monetize on our list. So it's important to develop a structure for storytelling. Like we said, our brain's looking for patterns. We're looking for patterns. You want to tell your story and you want to tell the story of the people that you have worked with. Now, I added this graphic because it reminds me that this is what we were taught in school. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end. We start with the exposition. The exposition literally is a very fancy word for the beginning. And then something happens. Something happens that changes our course. And now we have the rising action. The rising action, which leads to our crisis until eventually we have our climax. And then the falling action where we wrap up everything into a nice, pretty big bow and put a bow on it at the end for the resolution. That's what we were taught. Our beginning, our middle, our end. We have conflict. We get conflict fixed. Fix it all into a bow. Beautiful. That may be one of the ways that you want to tell your story. That's totally fine. Sometimes I do tell stories this way. The thing with this is you have to be aware we don't get 1,000 words in our email. We get like a couple hundred, because if we are writing a novel every single time, unless that's your ideal client, like what they want, they're going to unsubscribe. And while unsubscribes are not bad, you have to really figure out what your people need so that you can meet them where they are. Here's another really interesting thing. I'm going to pull this down. Here's another really interesting thing that I wanted to share because it's another way to tell your stories. Dan Harmon, he's the creator of shows like Rick and Morty. He had an approach that he calls the story circle. And it says, this is his quote, I find it to be one a little bit more simple and character driven instead of plot structure. So they basically says, number one, we have a character that is in their comfort zone. 2, something happens. 3, now we're in an unfamiliar situation. And number 4, we have to learn to adapt to it. Number 5, they get what they want, but they have to pay a price for it. And then they return back to their similar situation, but things have changed. And I put the owl here to remind me that it's Harry Potter. It's a story like Harry Potter. A character is in his comfort zone. He's not really, but kind of, but he wants something different. He longs to get out of living with his aunt and uncle. He finds out he's a wizard. Woo! And he has to adapt to it, to Diagon Alley, learn all the things. Then go to Hogwarts, learn all the things. He gets what he wants. But also, by the way, like, there's some people trying to kill you. Yay. And then he learns and he grows. Another one, sometimes people call this for women, the victor's journey. Moana is a beautiful example. And so this is a story circle, same kind of thing that you can put in your emails. Here's where they are. Here's the things that happen to them. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this here in just a minute. All right, so testimonials are good. We love testimonials. Social proof is great, but we need to dig a little bit deeper. You want social proof because social proof immediately legitimizes you, but go a little bit deeper if you can get a little bit deeper, if they'll tell you, why did they work with you? What was the thing that they really want? What did success look like for them? What was their problem that they saw as their problem? The reason we want to go deeper, there's actually 2 reasons. One, it's great market research. And 2, you're just talking a little bit more about the transformation. So like I include testimonials in my emails, which isn't bad. I include them quite a bit. I put them on my sales pages. I put them on my website because it's social proof. And even better, transformations. Think about who was a past client? What was their problem? Tell the story of how you helped them. Hey, they were here. They were at point A. This was their problem. We met, we worked together, whatever. And now look at where they are. They transformed because they chose to work with me. I can give you a beautiful example of that. Here's an example. So Donnie and Raphael, they met while working in a hotel. When I met them, they had traveled the world. They worked at local cuisines and they worked at local hotels. They traveled all around the world. And they learned a lot of local cuisine. This was pre-pandemic. He was actually the head cook at a 5-star restaurant, and he was going on to out school and teaching classes a couple of times a week. And they had a virtually non-existent email list and no strategy, no plan, no anything. After working with me, they actually grew their email list so that they now nurture regularly into over 100 people. which enabled them to be able to dream a little bit bigger. They created an online course that has evolved from an online course into a monthly membership. And in 2022, they increased their revenue by 67%. A ton. He still works at the hotel because he loves it, but he doesn't have to anymore. And so now we talk about this story. It's way better than a testimonial where she just says, hey, yeah, Kelly helped me. She helped me grow my email list and do some market strategy. This is compelling because it talks about where they were before and how they were transformed with some marketing strategy, with some emails, with the things that actually led them to the next step of their path. So all of this to say, and the reason stories are so important is because stories connect us. They connect us. You have to build those relationships first before you can make the ask. If you are regularly nurturing your list, you're building the relationship. Another thing I will say about emails, one story per email. One story, one call to action that you put at the end. The call to action can be join my Facebook group, join my school membership, whatever that looks like. You have the call to action that you're going to personalize. So today we talked about facts versus stories and why facts are okay, but facts tell, stories sell. Why we're going to optimize for mobile devices, because we know that a lot of people are going to get onto our email and they're going to check it from their phones. So we want to make sure that they can do that. We're going to personalize content and really increase the readability, let our emails breathe, make sure the font's big enough that people can read it. And then I'm going to get a drink because I've talked a lot. But then we're going to take it a step forward, and we're going to tell stories. Like we talked about with Storytelling 101. Are we doing a traditional beginning, middle, and an end? Are we going to take it from a plot? Here's where they were. Here's their problem. Here's how it was fixed. Or are you going to take it from a more human perspective of like, here was Harry. This is what happened to him. This is the problem that he said he had. And here's how I, as the expert, was able to come in and fix it. And now this is where he is now. We talked about social proof, how we include that in our emails. We weave those stories in with testimonials. And while testimonials are great, we're going to dig deeper and get to the crunchy stuff that people want to connect with, that we can build out these transformations and see these beautiful things of how we've really, truly helped people and connected with them. And we're going to tell their story. And we're going to tell our story about our growth and our business and our journey, because people want to know. And I will go one step further and say one of the best ways that you can connect with people is to tell them when you make a mistake and be human. Because the very first time I sat down to really do my email list, I wrote emails for 6 months because I was pregnant with my 4th child. And I then sat down and I scheduled them every Monday for 6 months. And about 8 or 9 emails in, I was still learning the platform, and I sent out an email that was supposed to go out at the end of August, and it went out that day in June. And I immediately sent out another email that said, hey, just so you know, this email is actually for August. And so in August, I'm going to send it again because I accidentally sent it to you today. And you may feel a little deja vu-y, like this looks familiar, and that's okay. And I actually had people reply back to me and say things like, thank you for being so honest. Oh my gosh, you made a mistake. And it just was so humanizing. Not to just think about you as a business, but like, Oh, hey, she's human. Like mistakes happen. And so tell people your story because no one has a story like you. No one does. And so I just like I hope my key takeaway for you today is the monetizing of your list will come if you are building relationships through stories. The monetizing and making money from your list and being able to have an ask or an offer and people jumping on it will come if you're building relationships through your stories and you're being authentic about it and you're telling the truth about it. It will happen. So I want to say thank you. What's next? There's a couple of things that are next. I'm going to move my picture. So you can connect with me. I'd love to connect with you. I'm at Facebook under Kelly Harris Copywriter or Instagram with Kelly Harris Marketing. You can join my email list. Please do. It's so fun. I love it. There's an email that goes out every single Monday, unless I'm in the middle of something. There's always things, but if I'm in the middle of like a sales funnel or a sales offer, sometimes it goes out just a tiny bit more often, but typically it's every Monday. And you can grab my freebie, 5 Secrets to Convert More Leads from your email list in 2024. There are a couple of extra secrets. You've heard a few of them today, but you can totally join my list. It's so fun. I love it. You can visit the copy shop. The copy shop has email templates for all occasions. And if you are a VIP guest, you can actually get a welcome sequence for free for just being here. So thank you for being awesome. And if you're interested in working with me, totally go on to Facebook or Instagram, DM me the words unlocked, and let's connect. I love talking to people. Like I said, I have 4 kids. Sometimes the only time I get to talk to adults is through DMs and coffee chat. So absolutely, let's go. Let's talk. So thank you once again. I appreciate your support, and I hope you guys found this training to be valuable. Bye, y'all.